Hello. So, welcome back to my channel. So, today's review is Race to the Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. This is from the Rick Riordan Presents uh, imprint. Um, so, Rick Riordan, I'm guessing you know who Rick Riordan is, Percy Jackson series. Um, he's a writer who likes to use his platform to actually promote sort of newer writers and especially writers from marginalized communities. In this case, the specific community is Native Americans. Rebecca Roanhorse herself is African American and Native American, Black Indigenous. Specifically, uh, she believes she's from the Oke Awinga uh, people originally, or that's her background. Though she apparently doesn't actually belong to the tribe. Um, she's not enrolled as a tribal member. Uh, Say the Oke Awinga Pueblo, along with African American, so Black Indigenous. Um, and she is married to a Navajo and has a kid with him. Um, so she's pretty pretty immersed in Navajo culture. So this book draws very heavily, specifically from Navajo culture. A lot of the stuff in it is there's a lot of Navajo terms that show up. Uh, there's characters from Navajo legends who are used and adapted for the story. A lot of it like modified, so sort of modified versions of figures from Navajo myth, Navajo legend. Um, in particular, the protagonist, Najone Begay, entirely possible that I mispronounced that, despite it having or Najoni, Najone. I've honestly, I should have, yeah. Anyway, so the main character, Najoni Begay, is descended from her and her brother, Mac, are descended from the Hero Twins, figures from, again, uh, Navajo legends. Najone is a monster hunter. She doesn't know that she's a monster hunter. She's a seventh grader. She's started seeing monsters. She started being able to detect and see monsters. One of them turns out to be her father's new boss. And The boss kidnaps her father, and she and her brother Mac and her best friend Davery are forced to go on an adventure to. What they need to do is basically find the sun so that he can make them weapons. Is basically the short version of that of the plot. Uh, and yeah, so she finds out that she is descended from a line of monster hunters, while Mac is able to control water, manipulate and control water. Their friend Davery is just smart. He's just a nerd. So yeah, so they need to find the Spider Woman, uh, Naashtai Asa, the Spider Woman. They need to find her so that she can give them a map to uh, a road that will take them to the God of the Sun so that he can provide them weapons that they can use to defeat the monsters. Um, and, they have to overcome obstacles along the way and all that. Uh, it is a middle grade novel, so it's pretty basic. Um, it's not exactly the most elaborate plot. A lot of it tends to be fairly predictable. But like I said, it is middle grade. So there are certain there are certain not really requirements, but expectations for middle grade literature. And as middle grade literature, it's a solid read. It is a solid middle grade novel. The For older readers, it's probably not really going to work. A lot of the dialogue is going to feel weird and stilted, um, and sometimes doesn't really feel authentic. Uh, some obstacles are overcome weirdly easy. There's certain plot conveniences here and there that pop up. Um, Certain plot points that just end up being a bit weird. But like I said, it's middle grade, so it's all of those things are pretty much to be expected of any middle grade novel because it's written for younger people, and for those people are going to, I'm sure, have a blast reading it. It's going to be absolutely uh, perfect for them. They're gonna love it. They're going to really enjoy the writing. They're really going to enjoy the story. And I imagine they'll really enjoy learning a little bit about Navajo culture, Navajo legends, a little bit of Navajo terminology and language. Yeah, they'll just soak that right up like the sponges that children are. So it'll definitely appeal to kids. Kids will love it. Um, I will, and you know, there's not a lot of Native American representation in literature, but especially children's literature. So it is cool getting some Native American fantasy fiction out there. And like I said, that is a big deal for, like, that's a big priority for Rick Riordan. He, really tries to go out of his way to let people, let marginalized communities have their stories told. So, it's really good that to have a Native American middle grade fantasy novel. That said, um, looking it up a little bit, um, it seems like some Native American reviewers were not terribly impressed. Uh, for example, American Indians in children's literature um, noted that it didn't really respect certain traditional boundaries regarding cultural narratives. That there are some problematic inconsistencies in some characterization that there were actually objections made um, to how Rowan Horse used sacred figures and practices, and that you know it seems like she doesn't care about the objections. Um, and social justice books. There was a Native American reviewer there who sort of made similar complaints about distortions of Diné cultural narratives. Diné being another term that the Navajo used for themselves. Um, so it does seem to have been a somewhat controversial book among Native American and particularly Navajo, not just Navajo, but among Native American reviewers. And being as I am this white, I feel like it is worth noting the those complaints, just because it's their culture. Yeah, it's their. It's. I don't know anything about Navajo culture. I barely know anything about First Nations culture, despite living in Canada. Uh, I barely know anything about First Nations um, legends. Even though I've read a book full of First Nations legends, I still barely know any of them. Um, so it is very much not up to me to comment on the authenticity of um, the book, of the representation. So, like I said, I just wanted to note that because, like I said, I do feel like that is probably pretty worth noting about it. That said, like I said, I still enjoyed it. I think that it is probably still worth reading for for kids, for people who who want to read middle grade literature. I still think that it's probably worth the read for them. Um, and I think I lost train of thought a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, like I said, I generally enjoyed it, and it is nice seeing. It's always nice reading fantasy books from other perspectives, from the perspectives of other cultures, seeing their takes on things. So yeah, it's a fun book. Next book I read is going to be Labyrinth Lost by Zoraida Cordova. So this is one that I'm very much looking forward to as well. So that'll be the next book I read. So if you want to read along with me, um, then feel free pick that book up. But for now, that is my thoughts on Race to the Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in another video.